Joining us now is Democratic Congresswoman Karen Bass of California. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure to have you. The Washington Post is reporting that Attorney General Holder hopes that his legacy is a defense of civil rights. But my question for you, ma'am, is will it be Congress's legacy as well?
Well, I certainly hope it's Congress's legacy. And I have to tell you that after the Supreme Court came back with the decision against voting rights, talking to some of my colleagues that have been in Congress for a long time, they're actually encouraged that we can do a fix here that would be bipartisan. As a new member of Congress, only here 3 years, it's hard for me to imagine that, but I will continue to be hopeful. And I think, under John Conyers' leadership, that we will be able to get the job done.
But, Congresswoman, I know the British are generally regarding as more responsive towards the notion of irony, but does it not seem ironic to you that the Supreme Court decides to knock down sections of the Voting Rights Act, and within a matter of weeks this North Carolina governor signs a bill that introduces the most severe, oppressive, kind of ideas, proposals that will suppress the vote?
Well, I guess now he's going to tell us that he didn't realize what he signed.
Well, it's a bit late now, isn't it?
To say that he's signing a bill and he hasn't even read it, it's just frightening. But I also think, though, that what he is saying is exactly how light he takes the subject. He doesn't take it seriously. Restricting voting, that there were measures that were introduced through legislatures around the country within the day after the Supreme Court decision.
But, Congresswoman, people gave their lives to vote in this country. You're telling me that the Chief Justice doesn't realize the weight of what voting means in this nation?
Well, how ironic is that? I mean, it's my understanding that the Supreme Court didn't even take into consideration the tens of thousands of examples of how voting was restricted in the last election when they made that decision. So, people are acting as though this was a problem that was 50 years ago, and why are you still talking about it? Hey, this was just a few months ago, and frankly, just a day ago, when you have people who are going to pass and sign legislation that would restrict the right to vote, our most fundamental way we can demonstrate this is a democratic society. We want to run around the world and tell them how they should have proper elections, but yet in 2013 we can't figure out how to do that?
No, of course we can't. Let me play you something that Senator Ben Cardin said at a news conference with Mr. Conyers today. Listen to this.
In Trayvon Martin's case, the jury has spoken as to the criminal liability, but there is no question that but for racial profiling, Trayvon Martin would be alive today. He was identified solely because of what he looked like rather than any facts related to an individual crime.
How do you convince people that racial profiling is wrong when some people have no qualms about going on television and spouting the worst, most ludicrous claims about black people in this nation?
Well, I think it's absolutely right. And let me just congratulate you for even being willing to have this issue raised in such a frank and direct manner. Because, in our society, we are so uncomfortable when race comes up. We don't even like to talk about it at all. And so there's a large part of society that just dismisses it. But to say that this is a problem has gone away, all you have to do is look at the response after the verdict to see how polarized our society is.
And on this issue of voting rights, ma'am, do you hold up any expectation that the most dysfunctional, obstructive Congress in the history of America is going to do something constructive to restore the Voting Rights Act?
Well, the only reason why I have that hope is because of my colleagues that have been here for a long time who tell me that there are Republicans who defending voting rights has been a part of their legacy. I was shocked to hear that, but I am glad to hear it, and I will, follow the wisdom of people who have been here far longer than I have.
Congresswoman Karen Bass, thank you so much for your commitment to this issue.
Hey, you're very welcome.
Thank you.